Hello and welcome to Boomer Bust NFL Fantasy Football Podcast. We are fastly approaching week 15 of the fantasy football season and the NFL regular season, and it's crunch time. It's playoff season in most leagues, and I don't know, what would we say, Shug? It's do or die in other leagues as they approach the playoffs.
Crunch time, definitely.
Yes, so tonight we'll be covering all the latest injury news, who we think you should sit and start at the weekend, and basically just all the regular rubbish that we come up with. But Shug, we recorded on Monday night prior to the Cardinals-Pats game, and the huge news coming out from that is that Kyler Murray is out for the season with a torn ACL. Now, we just spoke about the time of fantasy season there. How much of a blow is this to Kyler Murray fantasy owners?
Oh, it's massive. As you said, it's this time of season where injuries normally a decent injury just rules you out for the rest of the season, and it's a real blow. Especially as we spoke about how many quarterbacks have been going down recently. The options are limited, so it's a huge blow.
Yeah, and he's not like the type of guy you can just replace at the top of a hat. I mean,
Yeah.
Murray's not had his greatest season, not as anywhere near as well as he played last year, but at the same time, he has been steady. He does a lot with his legs, he does a lot with his arms, and the next guy up at the Cardinals is going to be Colt McCoy. Now, he's hardly a fantasy superstar,
Yeah.
but does he now become fantasy relevant as a replacement in that offense, given that they've got guys like Marquise Brown and DeAndre Hopkins there?
Yeah, he definitely becomes relevant. I think he's a reasonable stand-in, and obviously he'll get the job to end the season now. But again, as we spoke about, he's not one that I would be relying on. He's not one that I'd be looking elsewhere. If you can get somebody like guys that we're going to probably mention later on, Brock Purdy, Mike White, even somebody like Andy Dalton, I'd probably
Yeah.
take for then if you can get. That was kind of looking around our league.
I think you've took it too far there with Andy Dalton, mate.
I know.
Well, saying that, I'd probably put Andy Dalton in the bracket as being better than Colt McCoy, but
I know. I don't rate Andy Dalton, but I think it's a better option based on it's a punt as well. But
yeah, like in previous weeks, we've been banging the drum for Jared Goff. We've been banging the drum that Mike White's got a nice matchup this week and next week at a crucial part of folks' seasons. So Colt McCoy, yes, it'd be a good fantasy option if you're struggling ahead of guys like Brock Purdy, Mike White, and like you say as well, Jared Goff into that bracket. But a huge blow as well for the Cardinals. But it's not been their season at all. And it's one of these ones, the type of injury, torn ACL, you'll be lucky if he's back in time for the regular season next season.
I know.
So you're talking, what, 10, 11, 12-month layoff at least?
Yeah, then you're starting to wonder what he's going to be like. As you said, will he be there for the regular season next season? And if he is, what kind of conditions are he going to be in with that long layoff? As you said, he's not a quarterback that just has one sort of weapon. He does use his legs a lot, so it is going to impact him majorly. So a shame for the guy, a shame for the rest of the season as well.
Yeah, and keeping with quarterbacks, right? And I'm going to say a name to you here who's not been very famous with folk around the fantasy quarters, but John Walford looks to be out with a neck injury for the Rams, who face the Green Bay Packers this week. He's not very fantasy relevant, but the guy that's been on everybody's lips is now. We spoke there about how scarce quarterbacks are at the moment, and this guy just sort of blew it up last week. Baker Mayfield at the Rams. Does he now become fantasy relevant, and is he worth a pickup?
First of all, I can't believe you didn't call him the Wolf of Walford Street. But coming at Baker Mayfield, yes, I think it comes into the other category. If you're getting to a season you don't have that steady quarterback, or you don't have that outstanding quarterback, he's worth a punt. He's one that could, as I said, if you're sitting just on the edge of the playoffs in your league, and you might as well roll with dice and go for it. Why not?
Yeah, why not? Like, we've seen how vulnerable that the Green Bay Packers can be.
Yeah.
Mayfield last week leading that historic drive down the field for the Rams to win the game was just sort of front page news everywhere you looked. Like,
Yeah.
given the season that Mayfield's had this year and that he's went and done that, his confidence is going to be sky high.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing that puts me off taking him or starting him is not just the fact he is Baker Mayfield, and the Baker Mayfield we know can have more worse days than good
Yeah.
days, but that offense at the Rams is completely and utterly banged up. So it's Van Jefferson or bust there for me if he's looking to aim at somebody. But other quarterbacks around the league that look to be out, Russell Wilson's probably out with a concussion. We spoke on Monday about the Cardinals being a great pickup there coming up against the Broncos. And what's unbelievable there is, like, the start of the season we had wrote off the Seahawks. The Seahawks pick up the Broncos' first round pick this season.
Yeah.
So you imagine how good that's going to be, considering that he's now out, and yeah, they're going to have to go with a backup. The other one I'm looking at here, Kenny Pickett at the Steelers, he's in a concussion protocol as well. Doesn't look like he'll make it. Mitch Trubisky's another name there. Definitely not worth a punt.
Not for me. Again, I think there's better options out there. I don't see him as somebody that's going to come in and get you those points you need. For me, no, I'd bypass him.
Nah, Trubisky for me, be lucky to be around the league next season. I know he's a backup at the Steelers. These guys tend to bump around teams, and just not for me. And it's a scarce time for quarterbacks around fantasy football. And yeah, unlucky folk that I've got guys like Kyler Murray, etc., and their team, Lamar Jackson as well. But we'll move on to the other big news, and it's running back Ramondre Stevenson of the Pats. Now, same game as the Kyler Murray one. Ramondre Stevenson went out the game with an ankle injury, came back in for 2 snaps, and then he had to be pulled out the game. There's no real news on it yet, Shug, but as soon as we seen this before our waiver wire came about, automatically guys are looking at Pierre Strong and Kevin Harris in that team, because Damien Harris is also still out.
Yeah.
Does any of them start? For me, the reason I didn't take any of them is because I didn't feel one stood out from the other. So you could pick one up and then the other blows out.
Yeah.
Or you could pick the other up and the other just has an absolute field day. Like, is there either one of them stands out more for you? I know Pierre Strong was picked up more than Harris.
Yeah, I felt the same. I couldn't really tell much between them. And I think if you're relying on either one of those two, I think you're really at the desperation stage with them. So, no, neither of them really stands out to me. I looked at him and thought Harris maybe edged it, but I'm basing that on next to nothing, to be honest with you. I don't know an awful lot of it, either of them. So, neither of them for me either. Nah.
Strong-hander Harris tweed. Neither of the above. Nah. But like we said about Kyler Murray, like, Ramondre Stevenson has been a fantasy superstar this season. Like, at the start of the season, all the experts were saying pick him up or make sure you pick up a rookie running back, because one of them's really going to hit the ground running. And Ramondre Stevenson, I think it was around about the weeks that Damien Harris was out with a hamstring injury, that he was then given that bell cow running back role at the Pats, and he's just winning guys' games. So this is a huge blow for folk going into playoffs.
I think they'll be hoping, as you said, there's no real news on him. They'll be hoping it's nothing too serious. It's one of those ones, a lot of times at ankles, it can be heavy strapping on. Do what you need to do to get through the rest of the season. So I think some folk will be hopeful of that.
I know. You'd be picking up one of them as a handcuff, but it's a tough one to call. It really is, because both of them, I think, were around about the same snap share. And I think it was Kevin Harris got the higher snap share, but Pierre Strong recorded a touchdown and more yardage. So even at that, you don't know. Maybe Strong's took his chance more, and that's why more folk have picked him up. It's going to be interesting to see how they go for it. But I'm going to throw a name at you here. And I know you love the guy, but he's part of your dressing room, and that's about it. Is it Rex Burkhead season? And the reason... Oh, you're not. You're not. It's a certain... It's what?
Tell me more.
I'll tell you more, right? Damien Pierce is injured. He's going to miss the next 1 to 2 weeks, which isn't so bad, but... Yeah, again, like Ramondre Stevenson, he has been huge for folk in fantasy football this season. He's going to miss maximum 2 weeks, possibly 3 weeks, who knows. They also waived Eno Benjamin before the game, so the Texans are now down to Rex
It's
Burkhead.
Rex time.
It is
Get
Rex
into the hands. Get him on your team.
up against the Kansas City Chiefs. Is Rex Burkhead going to run
Let's
wild?
be honest, no.
But for the sake of this podcast,
Yes, absolutely.
Imagine he did, and you were just sitting there with a fact like, I told you, I fucking told you.
He'll be lucky to get 2 points.
I hope we clip this back. He's scudded them for over 20 points. But oh man, it's been a terrible time for running backs in fantasy football. It's such a crucial point in the season, but you always know it's coming. You always know it's coming. But some good news: Kenneth Walker is back. Now they were unsure about the foot sort of ankle injury. It was an unusual one. Full participant in training, and it's just been announced. And by the way, we're recording this on Wednesday night. It'll come out to you guys on Thursday night because we'll both get commitments tomorrow. So at the moment, they're saying he's going to play on Thursday night, which is unbelievable news for fantasy owners, isn't it?
It's huge. I think it would have been a big worry. I think across your leagues, Kenneth Walker is starting for whatever team he's in. He's a key player. It is a tough matchup for him this week, but you're delighted he's there, he's available, and you've got him in your starting team all day long.
Oh, 100%. If you watched the Seahawks last week, there was no run game. They were dependent on Geno just throwing to Lockett, throwing to Deacon. Tyler Lockett, by the way, has been just playing out of his skin at the Seahawks. I think he's got a touchdown his past 6 games. He's just been unbelievable. But in terms of the run game there, I know that Tony Jones was out and they relied on Travis Homer, who really done nothing of sort.
Better off with Homer Simpson.
You would say that, wouldn't
Walker, you've got him, haven't you?
I do.
You're putting your hat on it to save your season.
At a time I really need it. I don't think I can sneak into the playoffs now. The way our season runs, we run till week 18, which some folk find crazy, but some leagues are just different, and ours certainly is. So we've got if we get playoff implication for something like 6 teams out of 12 at the moment. So I'm kind of sitting in the middle where I could be relegated, but I could nick that last playoff spot. I could be very wrong there. I don't think I can, but I might. I'm not sure. Because we come down to head and not points, eh?
Yep, I'm safe in those playoffs.
I was waiting on this.
Safe in that number 2 spot.
I know, and we'll get to this later in the show. We're going to talk about like what's been your biggest regret in fantasy and what's been your best move, peaks and troughs sort of thing. But for me, it's injuries have killed me at just the worst possible time, and the biggest one was recent. Deebo Samuel, according to Kyle Shanahan, he's going to be out for 3 weeks, which is unbelievable news given the playoffs, but he's probably going to miss them. I can't see it being just 3 weeks because I can remember he came back for injury a couple of weeks ago. He was on a snap count, and the 49ers are probably going to be safe pretty quickly straight into the playoffs. So good news he's back before the playoffs, Shug.
Yes, it's good news. It's good news for them that he got to play some part at the end of the season. But I think for me, the next few weeks, we spoke about it last week, how heavily they're going to rely on like the CMC. So it's good news in that sense for me. Although I don't know, this week they're playing. They're the Thursday night game, aren't they?
They are. Let me double check this because there's games all over the place this week. But I looked at saying we're looking at our starting sittings for this week. I looked at automatically just going to Brandon Ayuk, and I didn't like the matchup.
I think another thing is CMC. He has been struggling with injury. It's a shorter week. They might not play him as much. They might not risk him. He is questionable. This might be the week where they say, "Do you know what? He's playing less of the game."
You might see Mason come in and have a bigger sort of snapshot.
Mason might play more of a part this week. I think in general they're more reliant on CMC, but I just think the shorter week, him carrying an injury, they might be a wee bit more cautious with him.
Yeah. And when you look as well, when you're saying that, when you look at the injury for Samuel, they were basically using him as a running back there. And this is how they ended up in this mess in the first place. And this is how they ended up with the contract situation that if you want, he basically says, if you want me to play there and if you want me rushing the ball, then you're going to have to pay me for it. And now he's injured. God knows how they're saying 3 weeks. It's a high ankle sprain. You see guys out for 6 weeks upwards for this, but who knows? Yeah, you're right. And that's a cracker of a game as well. The 49ers at the Seahawks on Thursday night. And then we've got games on Saturday night. And then we've got games on Sunday night. And then we've got games on Monday night. So good at this part of the season, isn't it? Monday night for America. Tuesday, early doors for us guys. So we'll see how that goes, but we'll not hang about here too long. And we're going to go to a wee break and give a thanks to our sponsor Manscaped again this week. But before I go to the break, Shug, right, on Monday night's game there on the Manning cast, Peyton Manning told a story about Bill Belichick, about how he once selected long snapper David Binn for the Pro Bowl.
The Bin Man?
Right? I want the Bin Man. Basically was, Can you tell me the reason why he selected David Binn for the Pro Bowl? Don't tell me your answer right now. Right? Have a think about it. And we're going to go here. And we don't have the super close-up for the Manscaped ad. I know folk really love it. But producer Dave isn't well. We wish him all the best, don't we, Shug?
Mate.
He's down with the flu, so we're thinking about your thoughts and prayers, mate. But as I've just said, a massive thanks to our sponsors this week, Manscaped. It's never too early to play holiday music, and it's never too early to start thinking about gifts. Whether it's for a friend or the friends in your pants, you can make this season to be jolly with Manscaped. Do your little drummer boy a favour and use the Lawnmower 4.0 to avoid another silent night in the bedroom. Then add in Manscaped's top-of-the-line shower products to have the people thinking, all I want for Christmas is you. Santa cares about his sack, and so should you. Look nice when you get naughty by going to manscaped.com and use the code BOOMERBUST20 for free shipping and 20% off. Now, Shug, we talk about it every week. Their products are fantastic. We've been using them for a few weeks now. I didn't use it on my face. I know I'm a wee bit more clean shaven this week, but it certainly does the job downstairs, doesn't it?
Tremendous. What a new man.
Tremendous. You're more aerodynamic. But no, get 20% off and free shipping with the code BOOMERBUST20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code BOOMERBUST20. Manscaped, get your jingle balls ready for the holidays. So Shug, swiftly moving on. In fact, I do this every week. We won't move on too quickly. Can you think of why Bill Belichick nominated David Binn for the Pro Bowl?
I was thinking he's either got some dirt on him or
kind of moving in the right direction.
That he's going out with somebody's family. There's some sort of family tie.
You're it's not family, but you're getting very much closer here.
It's not family.
No. Right. You're not going to get it, so we'll just go straight into it, okay? So at the time, David Binn was going out with Pamela Anderson, and Bill Belichick thought it would be great for the other players to see around about the pool in Hawaii.
Absolute great shout.
Unbelievable, right? So it was, as I said, it was explained in the Manning cast, and the video I seen was a podcast that was interviewing David Binn, and what he had to say was, after the first practice in Hawaii, he asked me, "Where's your girl?" And I said, "Pam." "Oh, she didn't come." He looked at me dead in the eye and said, "Remind me why the fuck I invited you here." Oh man! See, everybody talks in the name of Bill Belichick, but in reality, well, here this was actually in honour of him.
Excellent.
Brilliant attitude, but it's fantastic to hear stuff like that goes on at the highest level. I know he didn't get his wish, but looking around the league, Shug, and coming into week 15, right? crucial week, and we spoke earlier about running backs and guys we thought was that kind of sat on that flex bench sort of area, but I'm looking at my stats for this week, and the one guy who completely jumps out at me was available in over 40% of leagues, and they had an unbelievable week last week for the Kansas City Chiefs. Jerick McKinnon is my first start for this week. Now, we banged the drum for a wee while about Isaiah Pacheco potentially being the rookie running back there that would get the big chance. Clyde Edwards-Helaire completely fell away, but Jerick McKinnon is absolutely jumping out the screen at me. If you're a fantasy owner of Jerick McKinnon, get him in your lineup, get him started. Last week, he just looked like Patrick Mahomes' favourite guy at running back, pass catching running back as well. He carried the ball 6 times for 22 yards, right? Which, okay, running back numbers isn't the greatest, but he caught 7 of 9 targets for 112 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, in full PPR leagues, that is prime real estate, pass catching running back. This week, coming into week 15, he's up against the Houston Texans, who are the number 32 rock bottom team in the league against the running back. You would be off your head not to start Jerick McKinnon. So that is why, for me, he is my first start this week.
Yeah, hard to disagree with that. I mean, we spoke about it on Monday. The only possible comeback you could have to it is that the Chiefs have so many weapons. You never know who they're going to target in one game. But I think you're probably on the money. Who they're looking at now is Jerick McKinnon to lead that. But the only argument I could put on the other side is, as I said, the amount of guys throughout the season have maybe had weeks here and there where they've been the main men or they've contributed points. It hasn't been, they aren't like a team that focuses on a couple of players get all their points. So that's the only negative, if you could even call it that. But yeah, I'd be the same. I'd be putting him in my team.
They
Yeah,
keep you guessing,
100%.
don't they? Imagine you went to school with him. Like, why is he not called like Jerry? Like, you'd be calling him Jerk.
The Wolves of Jericho.
The Wolves of Jericho McKinnon. Oh, but looking around at games and stuff, like I've picked Jerick McKinnon for obvious reasons. But is there anyone you like
So I've
the
went
look
my
of?
first one. It's a bit of a risky one in my opinion, but I've went with Zay Jones. He's a man that's hot on form. He's averaged 10.8 targets per game in the last month, so he's ranking inside the top 4 in the receiver position. Now, he's a man hot on form. He's hot property now. But on the negative of that, I'd say he's got a tough matchup this week, which I'll come on to later, with the Dallas Cowboys. But I think his volume, his points are too good not to start. I'm going to put a bit of trust in him. I think he'll put some more points on for me.
So I'm kind of going to throw it back at you here a wee bit, because I think as well that the Jaguars are hard to second guess, and you've had this problem being a Zay Jones owner that boom or bust in a way. 1 week he is killing it, the next week he's nosediving. But that's not because Zay Jones is a poor player.
Yeah.
That's because the Jaguars keep folk guessing with guys like Christian Kirk, even Marvin Jones, even Travis Etienne. But I'm sure we'll get to him. Anyone else
I'm
throw
going to
another
go
name at me?
J.K. Dobbins. He came in, had a good week
Yeah.
last week. Ravens will run the ball a lot, I think. I
Here,
know,
what happened to your voice?
I'm kind of struggling with the cold, but unlike David, I don't chuck it.
Oh,
I'm only joking. Come back with the graphics. As I said,
right, J.K. Dobber.
He had a great week last week. The Ravens will run the ball a lot. I'd expect him to get some decent points up this week. So if you've got him, I would get him in as well.
So you're rolling with JK?
Exactly.
I like your pick there. I do like your pick, given that it's probably going to be the third string quarterback that's starting for the Ravens up against the Browns, who haven't been great, let's be honest. I expect Myles Garrett to have a huge game for the Browns defense, but at the same time I can see them running the ball. I think they are a poor offense, but they're probably going to rely heavily on Dobbins there. But a guy I do like in that game as well, on the other side of the field, for me, is Donovan Peoples-Jones. Another guy, quite like Jerick McKinnon, probably a safe pickup this week, probably a popular pickup. But up against the Baltimore Ravens, number 26 against the wide receiver in the league currently. He got 12 targets last week, which, when you look around the league, like some of the biggest wide receivers in the league aren't getting 12 targets. Double-figure targets, 8 catches. It looks like Deshaun Watson's really favouring him. 20.9 points last week against the number 4 defence in the league in the Bengals. So for me, Peoples-Jones is really coming onto a game, and it looks like he's got an understanding with Deshaun Watson now. In terms of Watson, I think he's going to start to hit form a wee bit as he gets to know the players round about him, as he gets to know his favourable targets, and it very much looks like Donovan Peoples-Jones is one of them. Amari Cooper, for me, has completely fell off a cliff. So Peoples-Jones, for me, is my second start for this week. And for anyone that's new to listening to this podcast, we never want to go for the safe options. Like, that's just a wee bit boring that you'll go into a podcast and they'll be sitting saying, I think you should start Alvin Kamara this week. Nah. We're putting ourselves out there, aren't we, Shug? And if you are a new listener, please make sure you're subscribing or following, and make sure you like this video, because we really appreciate that stuff. We really do. But I think we spoke too much about the guys that we like this week, and we'll move on to the ones that we sit. And we do a wee bit of preparation before the show starts.
I was trying to do a wee bit.
And when you sent me this one, I said to you, are you sure you've put him in the right section? And you said, yes. So tell me right now, why would you sit Tua this week?
Tua, anyone who's listened before knows how big a fan I am of Tua. I've backed him every single time throughout the season. I'm kind of hoping that the Shugsy curse works again and he has a great week.
I think that's what you're doing.
I'm going to say, had a bad week last week. He's coming up against a Buffalo team that are strong. And probably they're at Buffalo, aren't they? So,
yes, and it's predicted that there's going to be something
the weather
like 12 inches of snow.
Will not work towards Miami's favour. So I just think, I really hope I'm wrong, but I would be shocked if you've seen big points from Tua this week.
But that's a great point you make, the weather conditions there, that the ball's probably going to get run a lot, which suits you, being a Devin Singletary owner. See, when you watched it last week, was it the Bills Jets? Am I right in saying that? Yeah, Bills Jets game. It was coming down from the heavens, and even Josh Allen was affected by the conditions, just not throwing the ball whatsoever. So I can see where you're coming from with the weather. I just don't fancy my quarterbacks, my wide receivers playing in conditions like that at all. But I really hope that someone sits him. He has a blinder in the right end. Oh, that would be good fun. But anyone else you're not really liking?
There's been a few I've kind of humming and hawing about this all day, really. But I'm going to contradict what I said earlier when I stuck by Zay Jones. The other one I'm going to sit is Travis Etienne. I just think he's not been on the best form, unlike Zay Jones recently. And as I said, coming up against Dallas, I don't fancy them both to have a good day at the office, to be honest. So I'm going to say Travis Etienne. He's just not been doing it consistently enough recently for me. I'm going to go with sitting one there.
Yeah, that Dallas defense must be an absolute nightmare to play against. You've got Micah Parsons in your face constantly. You've got guys like Trayvon Diggs just picking balls out there for fun. They're a great defense, and I can see where you're coming from there. I can see them running the ball a bit, because I don't think Trevor Lawrence is going to get too much time on it. I think he's carrying an injury at the moment as well. But Etienne isn't really that guy with his head down, aggressive runner. He is a pass catching running back, and that's what his strengths are. So it'll be interesting to see. But guy I don't really like the look of this week, and sticking with the running backs, Donta Foreman. A bit of a letdown last week. And for me, I know that he led in snaps, but it seemed like Chuba Hubbard was getting the big plays there. So I'd definitely be sitting this week. They're up against the Steelers, right, who arguably haven't had a great season, but they're starting to kind of not so much pick up form, but they're a stubborn team in terms of Donta Foreman. It has kind of been up in there, the Panthers, since CMC left. So for me, if it's a choice between Donta Foreman or Chuba Hubbard, I'm going with none of them because I don't rate either. But Donta Foreman, it looks like he's not going to be the bell cow running back there. It looks like they're sort of moving towards a committee, and he's too much of a risk, especially going into playoffs. So for me, I'd be sitting Donta Foreman.
There's other weeks where I'd grill you for dropping Foreman, but I'm going to say you made the right choice.
I think that's got to be up there with your list. Don't you forget about me.
Yep.
But I'll give another name, right? And I've banged the drum for him this season quite a lot, saying, right, he's going to have his huge breakout game and then he's going to hit the ground and that'll be it. He'll take off. Josh Palmer, for me, is one I'd be sitting this week. Now, Keenan Allen's back. Playing well, playing really well, in fact. Mike Williams had a huge week last week, and looks like he's going to get a lot of the targets and a lot of eyes on him. Now, I know that the Chargers are up against the Tennessee Titans this week, who are number 32 in the league against a wide receiver. I completely and utterly get that, but you're going to have 1 week where Palmer will get you 10 to 15 points. You're going to get another week where DeAndre Carter gets that 10 to 15 points. There's just no clear path for him, in my honest opinion. So while Mike Williams and Keenan Allen play, I'm 100% not playing Josh Palmer unless you're completely and utterly struggling. So for me, my second sit this week's Palmer.
I agree with that. I think Palmer's the type of guy that's been good to have on your roster throughout the year because, as you said, with those injuries, you put him in. But when those two are fit, you don't see the points coming consistently for him. So, yeah, probably not a bad shout.
Forget about it. That pretty much wraps up the start sit-ems of this week. And a guy I mentioned there, Shug, Mike Williams, could not believe it that you dropped him last week, comes back and has an absolute world day. But is that your biggest regret of this season?
It's probably fantasy out there. I've had a few. I've got rid of guys and they've kind of hit form. I think overall most of my trades have been pretty good, but I've got rid of guys. I'm thinking of Chris Olave. I'm thinking what's the name now? Captain Kirk. Christian Kirk.
Well, Christian Kirk,
but I got rid of them for a reason, and there was times I was kind of regretting it, but overall it's probably for the greater good. But I would say probably Mike Williams, getting rid of him at the wrong time, recruiting Cam Akers because he was poisonous, and now the last few weeks it looks as if he would actually be a decent option. And my other regret is recruiting Odell Beckham and just hoping that he was going to play. But it's not going to happen, so
it's not going to happen, is it? Since Jerry Jones dished the dirt on him, that's not happening at all. About it, anybody.
Thought it's a smart pickup. I stuck with it because I thought, right, he's moving this week, and it's just not happened. It's just not happened. So
I know I'm fed up saying his name, but when you look as well, so the Bills this week picked up Cole Beasley again. He comes out of retirement, plays for the Bills, and it's probably a smart move given that they're going to throw together a Super Bowl run. And then the Cowboys sign T.Y. Hilton. It's a good move for Hilton.
Yeah.
I think he's a sneaky good pickup, T.Y. Hilton, given that Odell's not going to go there now. Yeah, so I'm riding that train. But my biggest regret this year, I don't know, I've not made many mistakes. I've been really bad for injuries. My biggest mistake probably was that I handcuffed Joe Mixon at the start of the season with Samaje Perine, and then I just dropped him because I get fed up waiting for Mixon to get an injury. Now, I just thought this season I'll be a wee bit more patient, I'll relax on things a bit more. But nah, I just love to stack my team and trade, pick up players off waivers, and that's what it's all about. It's about taking chances, isn't it? As it's just when you've had a player and you see someone else get all the points for it because you decided to drop them, and then you can't get them back.
That's the beauty of the game.
And it is. It certainly is. But the flip side of it was another running back, which I would probably say is my best sort of pick-up of the season, Kenneth Walker. I went and traded away Najee Harris and Jerry Jeudy and picked up Kenneth Walker, and he really put me in contention at one point in this season. Back again to the point about rookie running backs who can just sort of take off. And in terms of Kenneth Walker, it all came at a good time for him when Carson was ruled out for the Seahawks, that he was getting that solo role himself. And I've got no doubt about it that Kenneth Walker next season's draft is going to be a first round pickup.
Absolutely.
I know. And what about your best moment so far? Your best
For me, I'd say my best one was the trade. I can't remember the ins and outs of it, but I gave up quite a lot, but took on. And there was a big debate on here about who got the best of the trade, but my trade withdrew. That saw me land in CMC. I took a bit of a gamble, people saying about his injuries. It might still come to bite me, but to get him in was huge, and it's worked out really well for me. Other things, like during the draft, I took the cheetah just because I was talking about him so much. I took him in the first round pick, and I kind of scoffed it. Folks saying, why are you taking him so early? But exactly.
That's
but
a risk
been brilliant
as well,
for me
at the time.
I think the main thing I've probably been happy how I've done is chopped and changed well. Like, quarterbacks I've kept in, I've rotated well, tight ends. Sometimes a wee bit of luck, but I've looked at the matchups this year and tried to change it a wee bit based on that. And I think it's worked out all right. And on the night we done the draft, the email you get that predicts your place, I think I was 10th placed predicted, and now I'm sitting second with a decent chance.
I know, credit where it's due. I know I slagged you the week where we played each other and you won. I said you're so jammy, right? But when I look back at your season, like the week you started, like last week you started Richie James. Like, who starts Richie James? But you took a chance on it, brings in big points. A few weeks prior, you started Zay Jones, who is an enigma, brings in huge points, became your bust for that week. I think a previous weeks where you started like Daniel Jones, where you had to start a quarterback when there was better out there. I think he scored just something like 26, 27 points that week. It's worked in your favour. Fortune favours the brave, as they say.
Somebody's going to answer.
Exactly. If you throw enough shit, something sticks. But a guy you spoke about there, your favourite player, right? Tyreek Hill. This week, he spoke about him being traded away and requesting a trade from the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
Did you hear his reason for wanting away? That's fucking brilliant. So what he said was that he wasn't seeing enough targets a game. He's like, I was seeing like 2 or 3 targets a game. Bear in mind, he's talking about like one of the best quarterbacks in the league and probably for the future of the NFL and for the past 5-6 years in the NFL, and Patrick Mahomes, right? This is the same year he had a career high of 159 targets.
That's what I love. Probably NFL compared to any other sport is that, like in other sports, like Earth football, you can have an opinion. You can have an opinion, and it sometimes can't be, proven against. In NFL, the amount of stats, the amount of coverage you whatever, and anything you say can get torn to pieces in an instant, can't it?
Oh, you're not sort of. It's kind of like us as well on here that if we get a stat wrong or we get a name wrong or something, we're not perfect. We're just NFL fantasy football fans. But like these guys who are heard by millions and millions, like there's always someone in social media knows something more than these guys. And in terms of how, I don't know what he's thinking there, because he didn't have a terrible season last year. Like that backing it up is hilarious.
You're living in Kansas, and Kansas City, I've been there, it's a good city, but you got offered a wee move to Miami, you're there in the heartbeat, aren't you?
Oh, 100%. And you're getting offered the big bucks as well, right? So he's talking a lot of rubbish there. I could be wrong here, but if I'm right in saying that Tyreek Hill, Terry McLaurin, DK Metcalf, I think Deebo Samuel and AJ Brown have all got the same agent, and they're all the 5 wide receivers that got the huge contracts.
Honestly, I've got more respect
for
the athletes that come out, especially the argument as we're going on. The sort of debate in recent months was about the golf moving to the Middle East. Now, I respect more people that just come out and they're honest and they say, I got offered a lot of money. I'm not saying that's exactly what's happened here.
100%.
I don't know, but I like when they're a bit honest and they say, look, the money was too good to turn down.
I know, it's like all these sort of pundits and stuff that rubbished the World Cup in Qatar, and then all of a sudden they're out there working for thousands. But like you say with that, especially in the case of NFL players, it's a short career. Your body is your money, and in a heartbeat it could be over. So you've got to take the money when you can. But like that, it's not like he's media polished or he's clean about it. He's just like, didn't get any targets, and he's quite clearly talking a lot of shit. Oh, for you, he could. Aye, he could run in and follow your mum for all you care, and you'd be all right with it. Oh, but no, we'll not hang around for too long. If you've lasted this long, thank you very much. Make sure you're subscribing, guys. Make sure you're liking and following and all that jazz. You know how it works.
Yeah,
but Shug,
have
we got a wee game to finish off, or? Oh, mate, I thought you didn't even tell me you had prepared, but I'm right up for it now. So, Calvin Riddlers this week. For anyone that's new to the show, Shug will give a riddle. I need to guess the name of the NFL player, and we go from there.
Right,
okay?
So, a couple of tough ones in here, I think, but I'll start off with probably the easiest. He's building an ark in 50 Shades. No.
Noah Fant.
Noah Gray.
Noah Gray?
Well, you've
got
Who
the hell
anyway.
is Noah Gray?
Who
the hell is Noah? Wait,
Noah Gray.
If you just said Noah Brown. Wait a minute here. Who the hell is
Andy's
Noah
boy.
Gray? Noah Gray, a tight end. It's a tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Heard the big Noah?
Let's see.
There he's there. There he's there.
Yeah. I've never seen him in my life. Can't believe I got his name. Right, let's go. You're going to hit me with an absolute nobody here.
In the bushes, it's Bill's wee boy.
Russell, Bill's wee boy. Russell Ben. Bill's wee boy.
No.
Russell Westbrook. No, he's a basketball player.
Russell Martin.
Oh my days, man. Russell.
Bill's wee boy.
Russell Fannies. Bill's wee boy. So I'm just thinking of Russell's next. I don't know who the hell Bill is. Russell Craig. Russell Hughes. Russell Shug. Russell. Bill's wee boy. Bill. Who the hell is Bill? Russell Westbrook Akina. Is that even his name as well? I just named that basketball player again. Right, I'm gonna try and get a hand here, right? I'm allowed to do this.
If you want.
Aye. Russell Burger. Nah, I've got Russell Wilson.
Nah.
Bill Gage. Russell Gage.
It is Russell Wilson.
Right, go for it.
Bill. Will. Son.
Oh my god, man. That is worse than your puns. Will, son. Oh my god, man. Get producer David back. This is out of order. He's going to be unwell. Are we listening to that?
One. You might get this one really quickly, or you might struggle. 2/3 of a wrestler.
What the fuck?
I think outside the box here.
Stone Cold Steve. Right. 2/3 of a wrestler.
2/3 of a wrestler. That's it.
What, is that it?
2/3 of a wrestler.
Jesus wept, man. 2/3 of a wrestler. Wrestle?
Maybe think inside the box.
Right, wrestlers. Ric Flair. Ultimate Warrior. Shawn Michaels. Dwayne The Rock Johnson. This is solid. Give me a clue.
We gave him that nickname earlier in the. We gave him a nickname related to that earlier in the year. Another riddle that would fit in nicely is to look for a Hoover.
Henry.
What would you do if you're looking for something?
Ah, got it. Hunter.
Double H himself.
Hunter Henry. 2/3 of a wrestler. How in God's name am I getting that?
I enjoy that.
That is fantastic for you, if I'm honest. Producer David would have strangled you.
Producer Dave.
Heaven's 11. It's a class. No, but it obviously got a bit out of hand without producer David pulling the strings this week, Shug, but that's just what we do. So, as ever, good luck in your fantasy weekend this weekend. I know you'll not need it, I will. But for anyone listening, good luck in your playoffs, good luck in your end of season, and thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.